We're spending the next 3 days in Da Nang and Hoi An and showing you what you can do in these two cities. This is the last leg of our 12-day trip through Vietnam, and we're going to be ending it off in the beautiful central Vietnam area. So we arrived in Da Nang from Hue on the heritage train which goes along the coast, and as soon as you hit the beaches in Da Nang, you'll see the beautiful sprawling beaches, clean white sand, really nice beaches in Da Nang, and it's really beautiful with all the fishing boats towards the end of the stretch. If you drive just 15 minutes from the main beach, you'll get to the Sun Tra Peninsula. This is a beautiful mountain with lots of nature, and you'll find the Linh Ung Pagoda here. The Linh Ung Pagoda is where this famous Lady Buddha statue is overlooking the city. And the story goes that fishermen found a Buddha statue in the ocean and they set it up, which brought calmer seas and winds. And then more recently, this modern pagoda was built in this location. There are several Buddha statues throughout the pagoda, and it's quite beautiful to wander around. And then of course there's the 67-meter tall Lady Buddha, which is a statue of the goddess of mercy known as Quan Yin or Quan Am in Vietnam, who is also considered a deity in Vietnam and recognized outside of Buddhism in Vietnamese folk religion, which a large part of the population in Vietnam practices. I managed to get in a surf, which I was really happy about. Da Nang is great for beginners and those learning in January through to April, with some fun small waves and also good weather during this time, so it's a great time to visit Da Nang. And for more experienced surfers, there's some really good swell, but a little inconsistent during the rainy season in September through to December. You also see fishing on the beach with these nets. A lot of work for a small catch here, but you can actually buy directly from fishermen on the beach, which is quite cool if you want to be able to cook something yourself at home. But Da Nang has plenty of great seafood restaurants, so you won't be short of seafood if that's something you like. On the other end of the spectrum, we actually went to a restaurant called Loving Vegan, which has amazing veggie food and was one of my go-tos when I lived in Da Nang. Their whole menu is just really good, so if you're in the mood for some vegetarian food, I highly recommend Loving Vegan. And I noticed a lot of new restaurants too since I lived there a couple of years ago, so there are a lot of good options for all sorts of food. I'd recommend staying in Mai An district, which is where the main beach is. It's where all the restaurants are, lots of hotel options, and it's quite affordable. Da Nang is not too bad at all. You can get a hotel not far from the beachfront, obviously more expensive right on the beachfront, but a few blocks back for something very reasonably priced. $30 or so for a simple but really nice hotel room. And as I mentioned, Da Nang's got a really nice beach. Even in the evenings, you can take walks along the beach. It's quiet and peaceful during the evenings. So after Da Nang, we headed through to Hoi An, and it's only about a 30-minute drive to Hoi An. And our first stop is the famous Old Town, and this is the area that Hoi An is most famous for. The Hoi An Ancient Town is a World Heritage Site, and it is really beautiful with all the old buildings, all the colors, the little river running through the center of the town with the boats. There are cyclists which you have to dodge out of the way of at times. And the Old Town is famous for its shopping. Of course, it's tailored clothes, so you can come here and get really amazing tailored clothes made. All sorts of things like suits or dresses, whatever you want. And you can also buy lots of clothes, shoes, bags. There are leather products, silk, all sorts of different things. We went to the Museum of Folk Culture, which was quite interesting to see. You can see some of these old fishing boats that they used.
If you walk down towards the end of all the shops in Hoi An, you'll get here to the local market where you can buy a lot of things more cheaply, maybe bargain a little bit to get low prices, and generally better options if you just want to not spend too much money. So try out the market here.
And as the sun sets and the lanterns start turning on, it becomes really beautiful. You might be familiar with all the shots of lanterns in Hoi An, and seeing it in person really is quite amazing. It does get quite busy in the evening, so just be aware of that. You can also send your own candle lit lanterns down the river for good luck. And for dinner we got mee wang, and I can't tell you how much I was looking forward to this. It's one of my favorite foods in Vietnam, and it's just the best in Hoi An and Da Nang. It's from central Vietnam, so if you know anything about Vietnamese food, if you eat the food that originates in that location, it's just going to be the best. You can get mee wang in other parts of the country, but it's just not going to be the same as if you have it in central Vietnam. Mee wang is a thick noodle dish with a little bit of broth. It's got peanuts, herbs, and you can have it with different types of meat. I had this one with beef, and the best part is the sweet chili jam that they serve it with. It's amazing. You can also buy a number of different street foods. They have barbecue and other options, and you should definitely try out the banana pancakes with Nutella. They are really good. They sell them all over the place, so just grab them from the little cart and you can walk around and eat those. And if you want to stay out a bit longer, there are a number of bars and places you can go out, like this bar, the Mr. Bean bar. Pretty random, and I don't think they have the rights to use the name, but there you go. The Old Town can get really busy with tourists, and while it does feel quite magical as you might expect, it does feel quite touristy at times. So just bear that in mind, and as I mentioned in the Hue video that we recently did, I think Hue is actually a much more peaceful town if that's what you're looking for, is that really quiet, laid-back city. Other than the Old Town, the An Bang beach area is probably the most popular area in Hoi An. This is the beachside area that we actually stayed in, and personally I prefer to stay in An Bang because then you're near the beach. There are a lot of villas and hotels that you can stay at within walking distance of the beach, and then the Old Town is just a 15-minute drive away, but I think it's quite nice to just be able to walk down to the beach. And there are lots of cafes, restaurants and bars along the beachfront. For example, The Fisherman, which is actually a vegetarian restaurant, and they have some really good food. It's good.
So wonderful. Ooh.
Yeah.
Refreshing. Wow.
Wow, looks good. Thank you. Crispy potatoes. Getting some food here on the beach with the parents. How's the view?
Extraordinary.
I was really touched by the story of the Good Fisherman restaurant. It's a family who fish for generations, but they've recognized that the oceans are polluted and that it's not sustainable, so they changed to having a vegan restaurant, but they kept the name. And it's delicious food, and the coconuts are magnificent. And what is crazy to me is that all the tourists bake their bodies in the midday sun and no one swims.
There are also several beach clubs which can be quite laid back, but at times there are also events and parties happening at them. And for dinner we got some bo la lot, which is ground beef wrapped in leaves and grilled with some seafood as well, which was a really good meal. This was at Mr. Hua's kitchen, which was a pretty good spot. Super tasty and reasonable prices. So overall, An Bang Beach is a really nice area to relax, get some beach time. We spent some time hanging out at the beach, got a really good massage. We went to Kai Spa, and the owner there was really nice and the massage was great. So Hoi An is really a good spot if you want that beach-like experience, just to be able to walk around, be right near the ocean. And the area right near the beach is great with lots of little cafes and restaurants. So if you want to be able to walk down to the beach, just hang out in a cute little area, then An Bang Beach is a really good option. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a sense of what Hoi An is like and what you might want to do if you go to Hoi An. So that wraps up this 12-day trip I did in Vietnam with my parents up in the north of Vietnam and central Vietnam. It was a great trip, great to show them around, and my parents really enjoyed the experience. So hopefully it gave you some ideas about what you might like to do if you're visiting Vietnam. And if you'd be interested in actually living and working in Vietnam, at Ninja Teacher we help people with that whole process of moving to Vietnam, getting trained to be English teachers, and getting a job teaching English in Vietnam. So if you'd like to learn more about that, you can head over to ninjateacher.com, or you can download a copy of our free Teaching English in Vietnam startup guide. I'll leave the link in the description below. And if you're interested in more content about living and teaching English in Vietnam, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and I'll speak to you soon in a new video. Peace.